Hello my dear friends, welcome to Live Prep. In the previous lecture, we studied about the human heart structure. Let me quickly tell you what are the major important points that we have studied. In the case of human heart, we are saying the total 4 chambers are present and this human heart is covered with pericardium, and then within this wall of this particular heart, there are actually 3 layers: epicardium, myocardium and then endocardium. Yes or no? And major thickness is by myocardium, which is having the cardiac muscles. Please remember this point. Again, this will be linked with today's lecture or this particular lecture. Okay. So this is what we are studying. And then separately we studied that. So inferior vena cava is opening into right atrium. Superior vena cava is also opening into right atrium. And coronary sinus is also opening into right atrium. Whereas inferior vena cava and coronary sinus, these two are having the valves. This is the point that we studied, and they are bringing deoxygenated blood here. And then from the right atrium into the right ventricle, blood is going, deoxygenated blood is going. And here there is a wall, this is called as a tricuspid wall. Yes or no? And then from this right ventricle, pulmonary artery will start, and here it is having semilunar valves. Yes or no? Next one. So in this way, this deoxygenated blood is going to the lungs, and from the lungs, pulmonary veins will come here. Pulmonary veins. This is pulmonary artery. So two from each of the lungs. That means 2 plus 2, 4, total 4 pulmonary veins are opening into left atrium. Yes or no? But they are not having the valves. And here there is a space, and this space is protected by bicuspid wall, which is also called as mitral valve. It is also called as mitral valve. So in this way, through this oxygenated blood from left atrium is coming into left ventricle. From the left ventricle, aorta will come, and for this aorta at the beginning, it is having these semilunar valves. So in this way, some information regarding the valves we have studied. Next one, two atria are separated by atrioventricular septum. Two ventricles are separated by two atria are separated by interatrial septum. Two ventricles are separated by interventricular septum. Both of these are made up of muscles, but the thickness of this interventricular septum is more, it is having more muscles. Whereas atria and ventricles are separated by a fibrous connective tissue that is called as atrioventricular septum. So in this way, different names also we have studied. So this is the major important concept that we have studied, and now in this lecture we are studying about 2 points. One is regarding the nodal tissue, second one is regarding the cardiac cycle. Same things once again we will repeat, but some other information we will add. So till now whatever we have studied, same information once again it will be repeated, but here we will add some other extra points also. And first we are talking about the nodal tissue. Nodal tissue. What is the nodal tissue that is present within the heart? What is this nodal tissue actually? Before directly going into this, first we need to understand what is the significant property for these cardiac muscles. See, in the heart entirely, it is having the cardiac muscles. And in these cardiac muscles, now observe very carefully here. We are drawing the rough diagram here for the nodal tissue. So suppose this is the right atrium, this is the right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle. Yes or no? So in this way, the wall is present everywhere, and even this interatrial septum and interventricular septum, this is also made up of the muscles. Yes or no? Please remember this. Anyhow, here also this wall is also made up of the muscles. So that myometrium is present. So in this way, the heart is having huge number of muscle cells. And what type of muscle cells? Cardiac muscle cells. And they are present as cardiac muscle tissue. In this way, they are present. Clear? And here we are saying that these muscle cells, they are having some important property. In the case of heart, we are observing that some heart cells, they are having auto-excitable nature. What is this auto-excitable nature? What is this excitability means? This excitability means it is actually some potential that is created within the cells. The potential that is created within the cells, that is called as excitation in simple. But technically, if you are talking, that is called as action potential. Actually, when we study about it, anyhow, we will study in the next coming chapters. There is a chapter called as neural control and coordination. In that chapter, you will know how exactly action potential is generated across the plasma membrane of a cell. There you will study the complete details. Now here you can understand that similar mechanism will occur here also. So now what happens here? Now here excitability means it is some information. Action potential will come. This is some information. But the thing is, generally in an organism, who will control all the activities? It is the brain that is controlling all the activities. Yes or no? Very, very important point. Slowly we are coming into the concept, so observe carefully. So in majority of the organisms, if you are talking, so in the lower organisms, if you are observing, if they have the brain, all the activities are controlled by the brain only. And even in higher organisms like us, even in our condition also, brain is controlling all the activities, either directly or indirectly, brain is controlling the activities. But here we are talking about the heart of human or heart of the higher organisms. And here what we are saying, here we are saying that these cells, there are some what cells? Cardiac muscle cells only. These are also cardiac muscle cells. There are some group of cardiac muscle cells and they have self-excitable character. What is the meaning of this auto-excitable or self-excitable means? They themselves can generate the action potential. And why this action potential is required? This is the first important point. Why this action potential is required? The action potential is required for muscle contraction. Muscles are present, muscular tissue is present, no? And the atria also present and the ventricles also present. So now they have to undergo contraction. When atria undergo contraction, blood from atria will go into corresponding ventricles. When ventricles undergo contraction, now they may go to either lungs or they may go to the body parts, yes or no? So that means to pump this particular blood, now these muscles should undergo contraction. Muscles should undergo contraction. For muscle contraction, some information is required. For muscle contraction, some information is required. Suppose you are talking about, see here also we are having the muscles, right? Skeletal muscles and the smooth muscles. So we, in our entire body, we are having muscles at many locations. Who will give information for that? It is the brain. It is the brain that is giving information for skeletal muscles and also for the smooth muscles. Clear? But here we are talking about the cardiac muscles. With respect to heart, if you are talking, so here that is having, heart is having its own self-excitable, auto-excitable tissue. Some group of cells are present. And these are also muscle cells. And they can generate their own action potential. And when they are generating their own action potential, now what happens? This action potential will be distributed in the entire heart. It will be distributed in the entire heart. So that there is a sequential step is there. So in that particular manner, the contraction will occur. In that particular manner, contraction of this heart chambers will occur. Do you able to understand this? This is what the general original idea. And now the thing is, generally who has to control? Brain has to control. But here, heart cells, heart cardiac cells, they are generating their own action potentials. That means, who will control the contractions and relaxations of the heart? Heart itself is controlling. Heart itself is controlling with the help of muscle cells. That's why it is called myogenic heart. It is called as myogenic heart. Please remember, human heart is myogenic heart. Suppose they are giving statement like this. What is the meaning of this myo? Myo means muscle. Genic means producing. Muscle is producing. What it is producing? Contraction of the muscle cells. So heart muscle contraction is done by muscle cells only. Those muscle cells only. That means the contraction and relaxations. So these are controlled by heart itself. That's why it is myogenic. But in some lower organisms, if you are talking, it is neurogenic. It is neurogenic. Please observe this one. What is this neurogenic heart means? If the heart contractions are purely, completely, if they are under the control of brain, then brain means nervous system, that is called as neurogenic heart. But in this case, heart can contract on its own. How you can say this? Suppose sometimes they may ask this application question. Suppose you are opening this and you are taking this heart and you are removing all the connections and you are keeping it outside. If you are keeping outside, that means all the neural connections were removed and you are keeping heart separately like this. Then what happens? Still, for some time, heart will undergo contractions, relaxations. Please understand this. Even though neural connections are removed, still heart is able to contract and relax on its own. That means who is giving this particular information? It is the heart itself. That's why this type of heart is called as myogenic heart. And human is having what type of heart? Neurogenic or myogenic? Myogenic heart is present in the human. It is not neurogenic. Though it is not neurogenic, now you need to understand this. I will not explain here. At the end of the chapter, they have given about the regulation, and there you will study that brain also can control the activities of the heart, and even some hormones are also able to control the activities of heart. Now many students are getting confused. Please remember, they can slightly change the activity of this, but originally these contractions are generated within the heart itself, That is the reason why it is called as a myogenic heart. That's why it is called as myogenic heart. This is the one important point that you need to understand. And now here what we are saying, some group of cells are present together, and they are considered as a nodal tissue. They help in two things. First one, generation of the action potential, and also transmission of the action potential. What this nodal tissue is actually having? It is having some group of cells that are helping in generation of action potential and also transmission of action potential. That's it. So now in this nodal tissue, what are the various names that we are studying? Observe carefully. Now here, this is the right atrium. For the right atrium, upper right side, this is the right atrium. For the right atrium, upper right side, here there is a group of cells, and this is called as SA node. It is called as SA node. It is called as sinoatrial node, SA node. Please remember, it is called as sinoatrial node, SA node. And this is also called as a pacemaker. It is also called as pacemaker. Why it is called as pacemaker? There is a pace. What is the pace? Suppose you are going for a run. So that means how you will calculate the pace? So for 1 kilometer, what is the time you are taking? Or else in 1 minute, what is the distance you are traveling or you are running? So based on that, you are talking about the pace, right? Same way, this is the pacemaker. So what is the speed at which heart has to contract and relax? What is the speed at which heart is undergoing contraction? That speed is decided by pacemaker. This is actually deciding what is the rate of contraction for the heart. So in this way, the pace for the contraction is decided by this particular group of cells, and it is called as SA node, sinoatrial node. That's why it is called as a pacemaker. And in 1 minute, if you're talking for 1 minute, in 1 minute, generally, how many action potentials are generated? Please understand the relation. One action potential means one contraction. Please understand this. One action potential means one contraction. So how many times it is undergoing the contraction? In the range of 70 to 75 times. 70 to 75 times per minute. That means certainly this is what the number. So, and here there is an average value also. The standard average is 72 per minute. That means this SA node will generate averagely 72 action potentials in 1 minute. If 72 action potentials are generated in 1 minute, how many times heart will contract? 72 times. Whatever is the number of action potentials per minute, the same will be the number of beats per minute. That's it. One action potential will result in one heart contraction. So accordingly, you can go for the beats. What are the beats means? Again, the same number only. So in this way, you can calculate how many times heart will beat in 1 minute. So that calculation is based on action potentials. And who is deciding this? It is the SA node, sinoatrial node. It is also called as a pacemaker. Clear? This is what the information we are studying here. Understood this? So in this way, this sinoatrial node is generating the action potential. Good. And once it is generating, it has to, that information, that action potential has to reach all the cells of the heart. Then only they will undergo contraction. Yes sir. Now how it will be distributed? Observe carefully. Now from this, this action potential will go to both the atria. From this, action potential is going to both the atria, right atrium and left atrium. For both the atria, it is distributing. and during this process, so now it is distributed to both the atria, so that both the atria will undergo contraction first. Please remember, initially it is distributing to both the atria, that's why both the atria will contract first. When both the atria are undergoing contraction, what about ventricles? They are not undergoing contraction, they are still in relaxed stage only. So please remember, immediately after this I will go with cardiac cycle, so that I can link very easily. Okay, so please remember, from the SA node, the contraction information, action potential is distributing to both the atria, so that both the atria will, the muscle cells present in the both the atria, now they will get the information for contraction, so they will contract. This contraction is called as a systole, atrial systole. Atrial contraction is nothing but atrial systole. That's what we are starting. That's what we are talking. Understood or not? Nice. And during this process, what happens? Slowly it is moving like this, and here, this is also right atrium, and on the lower left side, for the right atrium, lower left side, this is right atrium, upper right side. For the right atrium, lower left side, just nearer to atrioventricular septum. This is the atrioventricular septum. So just nearer to this, here there is again a group of cardiac muscle cells, and this is called as AV node. It is present nearer to atrioventricular septum. That's why it is called as atrioventricular node. Nearer to atrioventricular septum, that's why it is atrioventricular node. But this is present only in the atria, right? So it is in the that's why it is called a sinoatrial node. Is it clear? So in this way, information is distributed to both the atria, and also it is slowly, the wave of contraction is coming slowly to this AV node also. Nice. So in this way, information is coming to this one. And after coming to this AV node, then what happens? Now from the AV node again, some group of muscle cells, they are coming out. And they are present as a bundle, and this is called as simply AV bundle. You can call it as AV bundle, or you can also call it as bundle of his. Please observe carefully. Group of cardiac muscle cells, they are coming out as a bundle, and the bundle that is coming from the AV node is called as AV bundle. It is also called as a bundle of his. Okay, so this is what. So in the nodal tissue part, actually they have not mentioned about the bundle of his term, directly they said AV bundle. But when we study about the cardiac cycle, there they said that AV bundle continue as bundle of his, like that they give. But actually both of them are same only. So in this way it is coming as AV bundle or bundle of his. Now next one. So that means information from SA node came to AV node, and from there it is going to AV bundle or bundle of his. And then what happens is, observe carefully here. From there what happens is, it will divide into two. What is this? This is the right side part. On the right side part, there is a bundle that is going here. Understood or not? And on the left side, there is a bundle that is going on the left side. Please observe carefully here. So after the AV bundle, there is a after the AV node, there is a bundle that is coming, that is called AV bundle or bundle of his. Now again, this bundle of his or AV node is further divided into two branches. This is towards the right side, that's why it is called as a right bundle. Right side is right bundle, and the left side is left bundle. So in this way, now this bundles are going into the entire ventricles now. Please remember, these bundles are passing in the ventricles now. And not only this, from these again, so since the information has to be given, now from this again some small fine branches are coming from this. So this information, please remember, ventricles have to contract like this very quickly. If they have to contract very quickly, information should pass very quickly, so that all these cells are contracting at a time. When all the cells are contracting at a time, they will create more pressure. If they are creating more pressure, blood can be going into the blood vessels with more pressure. For that reason, now it is having some small fine branches or the fibers, and these are called as Purkinje fibers. Name of scientist is Purkinje. Purkinje. Purkinje fibers. Purkinje fibers. So in this way, with the help of Purkinje fibers, again the information is further going deep into almost all the cells of this cardiac muscle. Understood or not? So in this way, there is a set of some particular structures are present within the heart which are helping in generation. Please remember generation also, generation and conduction of this particular action potential within the heart. All these will come under this particular nodal tissue. Clear? There is an SCA node, it itself generating this particular action potentials. On an average, it is generating 72 in the range of 70 to 75. Now, in the normal healthy individual, I am talking. Suppose the individual is having high BP, hypertension, automatically number will increase. Okay, I am not talking about that. In the normal condition, we are talking. And after this, here there is another node that is present within the right atrium, but in the lower left corner, nearer to atrioventricular septum, and that is called as AV node. AV node. Okay, next one. From the AV node, information will go to AV bundle, and again it is dividing into right and left branches. And from these left and right branches, again some small fibers coming out, they are called Purkinje fibers. In this way, the information for muscle contraction is distributed in the entire heart. Understood or not? So please remember, initially atrial contraction will occur, then it will undergo relaxation, and then ventricles will undergo contraction, and then they will undergo relaxation. This is what the sequential thing that will be happening. Clear? So before going into that one, now you need to remember another point but not mentioned in NCERT. Please remember regarding AV node. Okay, what is the major function of the AV node? It is receiving information from SCA node and then it is passing to the ventricles. That is the normal function of AV node. But please remember, if SCA node is functioning normally, so number of heartbeats will be decided by SCA node only, because how many times it will generate action potential, those many times heart will undergo beating. So that is a normal condition. In some patients means not a normal condition. In some conditions, what happens? This pacemaker may not be working properly. In that case, you can understand that this AV node also can generate contractions on its own. But the problem is, AV node roughly it can generate only 40 action potentials per minute. In 1 minute, it can generate only 40. But please remember, for the normal individual, for the healthy survival, this 40 is not enough. We need this much. For the normal individual, this 40 is not enough. Why you are talking about not enough? Please understand the logic. What is the major function of the heart? It is supplying the blood to all the body parts. It is supplying blood means it is supplying nutrients, oxygens, and many important things, right? If the heartbeat is less, then what will happen? If the heartbeat is less, supply of all these nutrients, gases is less. When the supply of nutrients and gases is less to the tissues, then what happens? Tissue development, everything will be affected, right? So this is what the major problem is. So even though AV node can generate its own action potentials, still it is under the AV node control. So sorry, SCA node control. So this SCA node is the major one. This is generating averagely 72 action potentials per minute. That's why heart is beating for 72 times per minute. This is what the basic general information. This is the information that we are studying under the nodal tissue. I hope now you understood the nodal tissue. Okay. In the nodal tissue, we are talking about SCA node, sinoatrial node, and also AV node, atrioventricular node, and also AV bundle, also called as a bundle of His, and right bundle and left bundle, and also finally Purkinje fibers. These are the ones that are present in the nodal tissue. Clear? And now, SCA node, generally it is producing in the range of 70 to 75 per minute. This is the number of action potentials, but the average value is 72 beats or 72 action potentials per minute average. That's why 72 beats per minute. But AV node also can generate its own action potentials when SCA node is not working properly. Then only you can observe this. But when SCA node is already working, so at that time you cannot notice these separately, because it has to follow the information given from SCA node. So that's why here also it can generate, but number of action potential generated by AV node is much lesser. It is just 40 action potentials per minute, and this is not enough. That's why if pacemaker SCA node is not working properly, it is highly difficult. So in those cases, surgically, so doctors now they will introduce the artificial pacemaker, and that will help in deciding number of heartbeats per minute. Clear? This is what the general basic information. But anyhow, regarding artificial pacemaker, so I will try to mention in the extra information, not here. Clear? Next one. Sorry. Now let us quickly read the NCERT information. The entire heart is made up of cardiac muscles. Yes, heart is made up of the cardiac muscles. The walls of ventricles are much thicker than the walls of atria. So walls means, so they, because why the walls of ventricles are much thicker? Because the thickness of the myometrium is more muscles are present, because they have to give more contraction so that more pressure will be developed. So blood can move very quickly. Sorry, that is what the reason is. Next one. A patch of this particular tissue is present in the right upper corner of right atrium. A small patch of it is present on the right upper corner, right upper corner of right atrium. This is called as AV node, sorry, SA node. This is called as SA node, sinoatrial node. Next one, another mass of tissue is seen in the lower left corner of right atrium. Lower left corner of right atrium, that is very close to atrioventricular septum, and it is called as AV node, atrioventricular node. A bundle of nodal fibers called as atrioventricular bundle. AV means atrioventricular bundle or AV bundle continues from AV node, which passes through the atrioventricular septa. So it is passing through atrioventricular septa, and after that to emerge on the top of interventricular septum. So it is coming to the top of interventricular septum. Okay, this is what they are saying. So it is passing through this atrioventricular septum, so that now it is coming to the top of this interventricular septum. Now at the interventricular septum again it will undergo branching. Okay, next one, and immediately divides into right and left bundle. That means right bundle and left bundle. So in this AV bundle, also called as bundle of His, is dividing into right and left bundle. Next one, these branches give rise to minute fibers throughout the ventricular musculature. So in the entire ventricles muscular nature, wherever the muscular tissue is there, in that these bundles are further dividing and forming the fine branches. They are called as Purkinje fibers. Okay, so musculature of the respective sides and are called as Purkinje fibers. So in this way, Purkinje fibers are the last ones. Next one. The nodal musculature has the ability to generate action potentials without any external stimuli. So this nodal tissue can generate its own action potentials without involvement of any external stimuli also. What they are saying here, external stimuli means heart. Sorry, brain. Even though brain is not giving signals, it can generate its own action potentials. That's what they are saying. That's why it is auto. Auto means what? Self, own excitable. It can excite on its own. It can generate its own action potential. That's what they are saying. However, the number of action potentials that could be generated in 1 minute vary at different parts of the nodal system. In the nodal system, so many are present. So in different locations, different number of times, these action potentials can be generated. Mainly we are talking about SCA node, AV node. SCA node, more number of action potentials, AV node, less number of action potentials. Okay, next one. The SCA node can generate the maximum number of action potentials, that is in the range between 70 and 75 per minute, and is responsible for initiating and maintaining the rhythmic contractile activity of the heart. So in this way, SCA node is giving these action potentials. Because of this, it is controlling all the contraction number of times, number of times heart is undergoing contraction. So that number is controlled by this SCA node. In this way, they are talking about the maintenance. That entire contraction maintenance is also done by this SCA node, because it is generating that particular information. Next one. Therefore, it is called as pacemaker. It means which one? SCA node. SCA node is called as pacemaker. Next one. Our heart normally beats 70 to 75 times in a minute. So in 1 minute, it is normally beating for these many times. Why it is beating for these many times? Because SCA node is producing those many action potentials only, and the average number is 72 beats per minute. So this is what we are talking. And with this, nodal tissue part is completed. Clear. And now we are going with the cardiac cycle. So how exactly these contractions, how the information is going, then accordingly who will contract first? Atria will contract first, or ventricles will contract first, or both of them are happening same time? Who will relax, and how exactly they are relaxing? Then what is the flow of this blood? Now that information we need to study here. So here we are talking about cardiac cycle. In the cardiac cycle, you will study about systoles. Systoles means this is about the contraction. Atrial systole means atrial contraction. Ventricular systole means ventricular contraction, and this is also called as depolarization. That action potential across the cell is actually nothing but depolarization. So depolarization occurring means what? Contraction will occur. This contraction is also called as a systole. Please remember these alternative names. Next one, depolarization will result in contraction, but opposite to this will be repolarization. If repolarization is there, now it will be in the relaxed state. It will come to the relaxed state. So repolarization will be relaxed state. So relaxed state is also called as diastole. Understood or not? So in this way, systole, diastole. So in this way, we are talking about these terms. Please remember this. If I say that atrial systole means atria are undergoing contraction. Ventricular systole means ventricles are undergoing the contraction. Yes or no? Next one. So atrial diastole means atria are undergoing relaxation. And ventricular diastole means ventricles are undergoing relaxation. So these are the terms that you need to understand before starting with this. Clear? Next one. So now we are talking about the complete cycle. In that cycle, you will study about the points called a joint diastole, atrial systole, atrial diastole, ventricular diastole. For proper and easy understanding purpose, we are starting with joint diastole. Joint diastole. What is joint diastole means? Diastole, relaxation. Joint diastole means atria are in relaxed state, ventricles are also in relaxed state. With that particular condition, we will start this particular cycle, and let me explain the entire information, then we can read the NCERT content. Okay. So information I will try to explain you in a very simple point. So try to understand the information. I will draw two diagrams. I will try to compare both of these. Clear? Now let us. So first we need to talk about the heart contraction, right? So we need to draw the diagram of the heart. So this is right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle, left ventricle, right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle, left ventricle. These are the four things. Let us keep it like that. Now we are talking about another diagram. Observe the diagram carefully. For your understanding purpose, I am drawing like this, and I will try to explain you all the concepts simultaneously. If you are observing simultaneously, it will be easy for you. Okay. And now here you need to understand that what is the time it takes for one particular heartbeat. For one heartbeat, what is the time it is taking? So for one heartbeat will take 0.8 seconds. One heartbeat will take 0.8 seconds. That means it is not even one complete second. Please remember this. Suppose for one heartbeat it is taking 1 second. In 1 minute only 60 will come. But we are saying 72. That means for one heartbeat it should be less than 1 minute. It was less than 1 second. So actually it is taking 0.8 seconds. And that 0.8 seconds I have divided into 8 parts. And first let us take this as each one is 0.1 second. Divide into 8 parts. 0.1 second, 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 and 0.1 second. So if you are adding all these, 8, you will get this 0.8 seconds. Understood or not? So now what exactly we are studying is, you are saying that one heartbeat will take 0.8 seconds. For each and every 0.1 second, how exactly the changes are taking place here? Please remember why you are calling it as a cardiac cycle, because once one beat is completed, again the next beat is also happening in the same way. Again the same will be repeated. Since the same is repeated, we are using a term called a cycle. But here how exactly one cycle occurs? If you know for one cycle, same is for all other cycles also. Now for one cycle, for one cardiac cycle, one heartbeat is one cardiac cycle. One cardiac cycle. For one cardiac cycle, what is the time it is taken? 0.8 seconds. Now let us see for the 0.8 seconds. So just for every 0.1 second, how exactly it is taking place? Now let us see this. First, please remember, for the convenience, we are talking about joint diastole. Joint diastole. So during joint diastole, what we are saying? What about atria condition and what about ventricles condition? Let us see this. Joint diastole. What is the diastole means? Diastole means it is relaxation, right? Diastole is the relaxation. So if the heart chambers are coming like this, it is called a contraction. If they are again becoming normal, that is called relaxation. So joint diastole, both of them are in joint diastole. This is also in diastole, this is also in diastole. That means it is in relax. 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 Understood or not? Relax, relax. That means it is in diastole. It is in diastole. It is also in diastole. That's why since both atria and ventricles are in diastole, this step is called as joint diastole. So just now I told you, diastole means what? Systole means contraction, volume will decrease. And diastole means what? Again coming back normal. Normal means what? Volume is more. Volume is more means what? Pressure. Already we studied about the relation here. Pressure and volume are inversely related. You should not forget these basic concepts. Yes or no? So during contraction, volume decreases, pressure increases. During relaxation, volume increases, means pressure decreases. That means here all these four are in relaxed state. All the four are in relaxed state means, now observe carefully. Ventricle is in relaxed state. That means from the right atrium, it should get the blood. From the right atrium, right ventricle will get the deoxygenated blood. And the left ventricle will get blood from left atrium. This is the oxygenated blood. This is deoxygenated blood. Yes or no? Why it is getting blood from the corresponding atria? Because it is in the diastole. In the diastole, volume is more. When volume is more, pressure is less. When pressure is less, what happens? Obviously from this one, it is getting the blood. Since because of the less pressure, what happens? Now this is under high pressure. When compared with this, it is high. So that's why from there it is coming into this one. Understood or not? So in this way, these ventricles are getting passively filled. Ventricles are passively filled. Joint diastole. Joint diastole. Ventricles are passively filled. What is the meaning of passively filled with blood? Passively filled with blood from atria. Since the pressure inside the ventricles is less, it is automatically getting blood from atria. It is automatically getting blood from corresponding atria. Please understand the concept very carefully. Clear? And now we will talk about another thing. So atria and ventricles we wrote. Very good. No problem. The same thing I will write. Don't worry. Atria, ventricles. Atria and ventricles. Ventricles are also relaxed. That means they are also in diastole. Nice. Yes, very good. Now please observe the concept carefully. Don't try to by heart this. Okay. Pressure is less. That's why from this it is getting the blood. Nice. Nicely understood. No problem. But at the same time, you need to observe another point. What is that point? From this right ventricle, there is a pulmonary artery that is going to the lungs. This is the pulmonary artery, right? Pulmonary artery. Names already I told you. So in short, I am writing. This is pulmonary artery. So now you please observe carefully. When the pressure inside this right ventricle is less, it is getting the blood from high pressure. Like atria, it is getting nice. At the same time, there is a chance that whatever the blood that is present in this pulmonary artery, it can come back into this one. There is a chance that because of this less pressure, there is a chance that the blood present in pulmonary artery may come back into this, and that should not happen. Please remember this. Already in the previous lecture we studied about the valves, right? So this may happen. So that is the reason why here there are some semi-lunar valves are present. Yes or no? Now here we are talking about pulmonary artery semi-lunar valves, and then here aortic aortic semilunar valves. Tell me whether they are closed or open. Observe carefully the diagram. Understand the concept, because in the examination, this is how they will interlink the points. If you don't understand the interlinking, you will make the mistake. So observe this. Once you understand this, it will be very easy. So there is a chance that this blood can go back into this. That should not happen. That means semilunar valves of pulmonary artery should be closed. Should be closed. Should be closed. Pulmonary artery semilunar valves are closed. Very good. Next one here. There is aorta. There is aorta. Observe carefully. Aorta. And here also in the left ventricle, pressure is less. That's why oxygenated blood from left atrium is coming into left ventricle. Very good. But same logic. There is a chance that blood present in aorta can come back. It can come back, but it should not happen. It should not happen. It should not happen means here also semilunar valves are present. They are also closed. So once blood is going forward, it should not come back. So that's why these are also closed. These are also closed. These are also closed. Observe the content carefully. Try to understand the concept. So during joint diastole, both atria and ventricles are in relaxed state. With respect to ventricles, first we are talking. So ventricles are in relaxed state. So volume is more. So automatically the blood from corresponding atria are coming into the respective ventricles. And valves of pulmonary artery and aorta are closed during the joint diastole. Clear? And next important point is, now here, what about right atrium? Blood from this is going into this one. Very good. Then here also there is a negative pressure, right? Volume is more. That is also in relaxed state. So blood from inferior vena cava, sinus venosus, and then superior vena cava. So that means because of this lesser pressure, it is easily getting the blood from corresponding vena cava, superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, and also coronary sinus. So in this way, what is happening? Here, right atrium is getting filled with deoxygenated blood from the tissues. So in simple, if you are talking, blood from right atrium is going into right ventricle, and right atrium is receiving blood from body parts. This is what happening in the joint diastole. Come to this one. With respect to this side, left ventricle is getting oxygenated blood from left atrium, and now this left atrium will receive blood from lungs. Left atrium is receiving blood from lungs. This is also happening. So during joint diastole, ventricles are also filled with blood, atria are also filled with the blood. Ventricles are filled with blood that is coming from corresponding or same side atria, whereas atria are receiving blood from the corresponding organs. Right atrium is receiving deoxygenated blood from body parts, and the left atrium is receiving oxygenated blood from the lungs. This is what actually happening in the joint diastole. In this way, during joint diastole, technically if you are observing, filling of the heart with the blood is taking place. In simple, this is the joint diastole. I hope now you understood what is joint diastole. Both of them are in diastole, both of them are in relaxation. So that's why both ventricles and atria are getting filled with blood. This is what you are talking. Understood or not? Okay. So this is the general condition we are talking. And this is what the joint diastole is. And now after joint diastole, now we are observing carefully. Now observe carefully. After joint diastole, what happens is, now after joint diastole is completed. Now we are talking with the beginning of the next beat. Once joint diastole completed, previous one is completed. Now the next one will begin. So now we are starting with this. There is SA node here. There is SA node here. And the SA node is generating action potential. That action potential is distributed to both the atria. Action potential is distributed to both the atria. So once action potential is distributed to both the atria, what happens? Atrial contraction will occur. And for how long it will occur? This inside, inner side is for atria I am writing, and outside I am writing for ventricles. Outside I am writing for ventricles. But here please understand, when SA node is generating impulse, and when it is sending it to AV node, this is the AV node. Meanwhile, what is happening? The information is distributed to atria, and atria will undergo contraction. So only atria will undergo contraction. This is the atria. This is the atrial contraction. This is the atrial contraction. This is the atrial. Atrial. This is the atrial contraction. Please observe carefully. Atrial contraction means atria will contract only for just 0.1 second. Only this much, right? On this outer side, I will write for ventricles. Inner circle I am using for atria. Okay, please observe carefully. Don't worry. Anyhow, at the end of the lecture also once again I will repeat it. But first understand the point. Atrial contraction is occurring only for just 0.1 second. So when atria undergo contraction, contraction means what? Systole. It is nothing but atrial systole. Atrial systole means what will happen here? Blood from this right atrium will go into right ventricle. Blood from left atrium will go into left ventricle. So in this way, when there is a joint diastole, passively, without any extra effort, automatically it is coming. Because at that time, these two are open. Okay, these two are open. So let me add these two also. Okay, tricuspid valve, bicuspid valve. This also let us add. And first we are talking about the joint diastole. During joint diastole, tricuspid valve is open, bicuspid valve is open. That's why blood from atria is coming into ventricle. And now we are talking about atrial systole. Atrial systole means atrial contraction. Systole is the contraction. Atrial systole, atrial contraction. What happens because of this atrial contraction? These two valves are open. That's why blood from the corresponding atria will come into corresponding ventricles. That means further filling of ventricles is taking place. That's it. Further filling of ventricles is taking place. So here also these are open. What about these two? They are closed. But in the atrial contraction, who will undergo contraction? Only atria contract. But ventricles are still in relaxed state. Please observe the concept carefully. During atrial contraction, only atria will undergo contraction. Ventricles are still in relaxed state only. So that's why what is happening? Further filling of ventricles will occur. Previously, passively, some volume is filled with the blood. Now because of this forced, now atria are undergoing contraction means forcefully blood is pumped into ventricles. So further filling will occur. Further filling of ventricles will occur. Please remember this. Regarding this, there are some numerical calculations. That calculation part I will discuss in extra information lectures. Lecture having the extra information, in that I will cover this particular information. Clear? And in this way, now further filling of ventricles will occur. Nice. And then what happens? With this, atrial contraction is completed. And by this time, now this information from SA node came to the AV node. Atrial contraction completed. And once atrial contraction is completed, now atria will undergo relaxation. How long they will be relaxed? They will be relaxed. They are relaxed here. That means atrial contraction is just for 0.1 second only, but atrial relaxation is 0.7 seconds. Observe the content very carefully, very important. Atria are undergoing contraction only for just 0.1 second. And remaining time, entirely they are in the relaxed state only. So this is what another important point that we need to understand. Clear? So in this way, atrial contraction is for 0.1 second, whereas atrial diastole means what? Relaxation. Diastole means relaxation is for 0.7 seconds. In this way, with respect to atria, this is what happening in this 0.8 seconds. In that 0.8 seconds, if you are observing only atria, they are contracting only for just 0.1 second, and remaining 0.7 seconds it is in relaxed state. Relaxed state means it can keep on collecting blood from the body parts. Deoxygenated blood can be collected from body parts, oxygenated blood can be collected from lungs. This is what happening, that's it, very simple. So in this way, it is blood from the atria is coming into ventricles. Nice. Once atrial contraction is completed, now ventricles will start undergoing contraction because the filling is completed. Whatever is the volume that has to be filled, that got filled. And now from the ventricles, it should be pumped. So now what happens? Ventricles will start undergoing contraction. But how long they will undergo contraction? Observe carefully. 0.1 plus 0.1 plus 0.1. How long they will undergo contraction? So ventricular contraction is a longer duration. Ventricular contraction. Contraction means what? Systole. Ventricular systole is happening for 0.3 seconds. For 0.3 seconds, it is undergoing contraction. When it is undergoing contraction, initially what happens? Now it is slowly undergoing the contraction. And who is involving in this contraction? Observe carefully. Once this atrial contraction completed, information from AV node is coming to AV bundle, and then through the right bundle and the left bundle, it is reaching the ventricles. And since information is coming here, now it will start undergoing contraction. From which side to which side? This is the apex, no? Already I told in the previous lectures. This is the apex. Please remember, ventricular contraction is coming from the apex to the top. Apex to this side it is going. Please understand. Many students, they are thinking that from here to here it is going. They are thinking like this. No. Actually, ventricular contraction is starting at this place and going like this. Starting and coming like this. So in this way, contraction is starting from the bottom. And now what happens? Observe carefully. Already blood is present in this. And there are valves here. And these valves are till now they are open. But now when ventricles are undergoing contraction, imagine now, blood is present in this. If these valves are not closed, again it will go back. That should not happen. So that's why during ventricular contraction, tricuspid and bicuspid valves should be closed. Tricuspid and bicuspid valves should be closed. This is the next important point we need to observe carefully here. So during, anyhow, atrial relaxation will be there, that is overlapped with ventricular contraction, ventricular systole. During ventricular systole, what happens? Tricuspid valve close and then bicuspid valve close. Yes, sir. But what happens to these two? Observe carefully here. So when it is undergoing contraction, it should not go into atria. That's why these valves are getting closed. Very good. But now the blood from this should go into pulmonary artery. Blood from this should go into aorta. That means these valves should be open. So that's why now these valves will be open, so that blood from this will go into this, blood from this will go into this. In this way, during ventricular systole, what happens? From the right ventricle, blood will enter into pulmonary artery. From the left ventricle, blood will enter into aorta. This is what happening here. So in this way, what happens? These two should be open. It should be open and it also should be open. Understood or not? So in this way, ventricular contraction is occurring for 0.3 seconds. Ventricular contraction is occurring for 0.3 seconds. Once ventricular contraction is completed, so please remember, some students, calculations I will tell you separately. Some students are thinking that complete blood is going into this. No, complete blood will not go. Some volume of blood will go into this particular one. Understood or not? Some volume of this blood is entering into these particular blood vessels, and remaining volume will be present inside this one only. Please remember this. This is what happening. Nice. With this, ventricular contraction completed, ventricles contracted and pumped the blood with high pressure, because ventricles, they are having the very thick muscles, right? So they are giving more pressure. So that's why with high pressure they are pumping. So from the deoxygenated blood from right ventricle will go into pulmonary artery. From there it is going to the lungs. And from the left ventricle, oxygenated blood is entering into aorta. From there it is supplied to the entire body parts. This is what happening. Nice. Once contraction of ventricles is over, now they should undergo relaxation. Once ventricles are undergoing relaxation, now we are talking about the ventricle relaxation. That means ventricular diastole. Ventricular diastole. Ventricular diastole. In the ventricular diastole, what happens? When ventricles are undergoing diastole, volume is increasing. That means again pressure is decreasing. Pressure decreasing means, see here, During ventricular contraction, these two are closed. But during ventricular diastole, again these two will be open. These two will be open. And there is a chance that blood in these two may come back. So that's why these two should be closed. Observe carefully. During ventricular systole, bi and tricuspid valves were closed and semilunar valves were open. But in the case of ventricular diastole, opposite. In the ventricular diastole, semilunar valves will close and cuspid valves will open. This is what the important point is. So in this way, here tricuspid valves open, bicuspid valve also will open. But semilunar valves, now these will be closed. These will be closed. This is what happening. So once they are closed, now what happens here? Now here it is in relaxed state. So in this way, now for 0.3 seconds it got contracted and remaining it is relaxed. Ventricular relaxed means ventricular diastole. For how much time? 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. Yes or no? So in this way, for how many? Up to this you need to consider. 1, 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. This is also relaxed, right? 0.1. Sorry. So in this way, total for how much time it will be in relaxed state? It will be in the relaxed state, that is the diastole for 0.5 seconds. For 0.5 seconds, it is under the diastole. But if you are observing the overall diagram, you just see it. So actually here, see this. This is in the diastole, but this is in the contracted. This is the diastole, this is the systole. So in this way, what happened? This spot. What happened to these spots? One is in relaxed state, other one is in contracted state. Here if you are observing, this is contracted, this is relaxed. So that means for this time what is happening? If one is contracted, other one is relaxed. But if you are observing this particular part, that means this one and this one. 0.1 plus 0.1 plus 0.1 plus 0.1. What is happening here? Both of them are relaxed. 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 Yes or no? That means the time duration. What is the time duration at which both atria and ventricles are relaxed? What is the time duration? It is 0.4 seconds. So the time for joint diastole is 0.4 seconds. From that particular graph, you can understand this. And once this contraction relaxation is completed, now again joint diastole will come. In the joint diastole, what happens? Now passively blood from atria will come into the ventricles, and the atria are collecting blood from body parts, and here it is from the lungs. And once again the same will be repeated. Clear? And this complete cycle is called as cardiac cycle. That's it. With this cardiac cycle is completed. Now what I will do is entire information once again I will revise quickly. Observe very carefully. Quickly I will revise this. What we are saying here, this is right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle, left ventricle. Clear? Now here there is a nodal tissue. This is called as SA node. And SA node is giving information to both the atria first. When both the atria are contracted, now what I am doing is I will draw the diagram. So slightly I will modify the diagram, so please observe carefully. Okay, suppose these are the ventricles. Now here what we are saying, atria are contracted. Atria are contracted means I am making little bit small like this, so please try to understand this. Okay, so it is small like this. Atria are undergoing contraction. So when information from SA node is passing to this AV node, this is AV node. During this time, what actually happening? Information is going to both the atria. Both the atria are undergoing contraction. So information from this particular atria are causing contraction of the muscle cells present within this atria. So that's what atria will undergo contraction. That is called atrial systole. During atrial systole, what happens? Deoxygenated blood from right atrium will go into right ventricle. Oxygenated blood from left atrium will go into left ventricle. This is what happening, and in this way forced filling will occur. Within the ventricle. Within the ventricle. This is what we are saying. Next one. Once it is force filled, now during this time what we are studying, tricuspid and bicuspid valves are open because blood has to flow, but semilunar valves should be closed. This is what we are studying for atrial systole, and its duration is 0.1 second. Over. Next one. Then what happens? Then remaining time it will be in relaxed state only. Remaining 0.0 seconds it will be in relaxed state only. You don't need to study further. So when it is in relaxed state, what happens? Volume will increase. So automatically they will collect blood from the corresponding organs. That's it. Clear. Next one. Next one is from the AV node, information will go to AV bundle. From there it is divided into right and left branches and then Purkinje fibers, so that now this muscle contraction wave or the action potential is traveling in the ventricle. But the ventricular contraction will occur from the apex to the towards the base side. Apex to the base side it is occurring. So initially it is contracting like this. When it is contracting, what happens? Inside volume decreases, pressure increases, and now here what happens? This tri and bicuspid valves will be closed. Bi and tricuspid valves will be closed, so that blood cannot go back into the atria. And now what happens? Now here what we are saying? Now here we are saying that this pulmonary artery and the aorta, the semilunar valves will be open. So during ventricular contraction, from the right ventricle, deoxygenated blood will enter into pulmonary artery. From the left ventricle, oxygenated blood will enter into aorta. This is what happening. And please remember, when these are open, these two are closed. Nice. Next one. And then what happens once blood is pumped? Now again, and the duration for the ventricular contraction is 0.3 seconds. 0.3 seconds. And then again these ventricles will undergo relaxation, ventricular diastole. And this ventricular diastole is remaining 0.5 seconds. During this ventricular diastole, what happens? Volume will increase further. So now what happens? Semilunar valves will be closed and bi and tricuspid valves will be open. So that again from that atria once again the filling will occur. So this passive filling is occurring for 0.4 seconds. This passive filling is occurring for 0.4 seconds. If you are writing separately for atria and ventricles, so how we are dividing this? Observe carefully. The same thing I have overlapped here. Suppose here atrial contraction is for 0.1 second. But when atria are contracted, now at this particular time point, ventricles are in still relaxed state. Once atrial contraction is completed, remaining 0.0 seconds, it is in relaxed state. Relaxed state means it is the atrial diastole. This is the atrial contraction. Atrial contraction, it is nothing but atrial systole, just for 0.1 second. Remaining time it is in relaxed state. But if you are observing separately for the ventricles, when atria are undergoing contraction, at that time it is in relaxed state. Once that is completed, then now they are undergoing the contraction. This is 0.1 second. This is another 0.1 and this is another 0.1. So in this way, from here to here, total, what is the total time? For 0.3 seconds, ventricles will undergo systole contraction. Ventricular systole will take 0.3 seconds. And here after this, for this particular time, 0.5 seconds, it is diastole, relaxed state. If you are combining both of them, now you will get this particular diagram. Once again I am drawing, because if you understand this particular one, you can easily understand the entire concept. Okay. So inside I am writing for atria. Suppose this is the atrial contraction. This is the atrial contraction. Atrial contraction, it is for 0.1 second. And atrial relaxation is for 0.7 seconds. Okay, that's what happening with respect to atria. But for ventricles, if you are observing 1, 2 and 3. So in this way, ventricular contraction 0.3 seconds and ventricular relaxation is for 0.5 seconds. This is what happening in this 0.8 seconds. In this way, this is happening. But during this particular point, if you are observing 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. So that means for this 0.4 seconds, both atria and ventricles are in the diastole. Both of this is also in diastole, this is also in diastole. Both of them are in relaxed. This is also relaxed, this is also relaxed. That's why that the time point during which both atria and ventricles are in relaxed state, that is called as joint diastole or common diastole. This is what they are saying. This is what actually happening. So in this way, it is actually sending it. First, let us read the NCERT information up to this. For regarding the remaining other information, we can slowly study the other information. Okay. And now what, and another point also that they have given. So that is regarding the lub and dub. So that they have mentioned separately. So we don't need to study here. Don't worry, because it is not completed yet. We need to study so many other things also. Those points separately I will tell you in the next lecture. First, let us understand up to this particular one. Okay. So now let us see. How does the heart function? Heart actually, how exactly it is functioning? At least some basic points let us see here. Let us take a look. To begin with, all the four chambers of heart in relaxed state. First, we are considering the joint diastole stage, where all the four, that means both atria and ventricles, are in relaxed state. That relaxed state let us consider. And they are in joint diastole. That particular condition is called a joint diastole. From there, we will start the cycle. Then it will be easy for us. After joint diastole, what we are saying? As the tricuspid and bicuspid valves are open, so which one is open, which one is closed, you need to remember. As these valves are open, blood from the pulmonary veins and vena cava flow into the left and right ventricle respectively through left and right atria. From the body parts and the lungs, this deoxygenated and oxygenated blood is going into the ventricles through atria. Through the atria they are passing. That's what they are saying. When? During the joint diastole. Next one. The semilunar valves are closed at this stage. At this stage, semilunar valves of both pulmonary artery and aorta are closed. Next one. The sinoatrial node now generates an action potential which stimulates both atria to undergo simultaneous contraction. Both the atria at a time they will undergo contraction. In this way, SA node is generating the impulse, and that is called as atrial systole. So both the atria are undergoing simultaneous contraction, means that is called atrial systole. What happens because of this? This atrial systole increases the flow of blood into the ventricles by about 30%. This percentage calculations, everything separately I will tell you, because this calculation is also very important for us. So when we are calculating about that cardiac output calculations, at that time I will tell you about this 30% and its significance. Now you just remember this one. So that means approximately 70% is filled passively. During the atrial contraction, that 30% of the blood will be added. Okay, next one. The action potential is conducted to the ventricular side by. So to the ventricle side, the action potential should go. Who will conduct this? Atrioventricular node, and then AV bundle, from where the bundle of his transmits it through the entire ventricular musculature. Here they are saying in a different way. Okay, SA node to AV node, fine. After AV node, AV bundle, fine. But here what they are saying, from AV bundle they are saying bundle of his. But please remember, both of them are same only. So this AV bundle or bundle of his will divide into right and left bundles and then Purkinje fibers. In this way, they are sending this particular action potential to the entire musculature of the ventricles, muscles of the ventricles. Next one. This causes ventricular muscles to contract. Now ventricles will undergo contraction, that is called as ventricular systole. And the atria will undergo relaxation. When ventricles are undergoing contraction, what about atria? They are just contracting for 0.1 second. Once that is over, now they will be in relaxed state only. So when ventricular contraction is occurring, then actually atria are in relaxed state. So atria undergo relaxation, that is the atrial diastole. And here, since it is the ventricular contraction or ventricular systole, and this is coinciding with, that means this atrial diastole, here they are saying that atrial diastole is coinciding with ventricular systole. That means when ventricles are undergoing contraction, atria are undergoing relaxation. Both of them are occurring at the simultaneously. Next one, ventricular systole increases ventricular pressure. Since the volume is decreasing, pressure will be increased. So increasing the pressure, causing the closure of tricuspid and bicuspid valves. So that means during atrial systole, during joint diastole, cuspid valves are open. During atrial systole, cuspid valves are open. When they are getting closed, during ventricular systole. So now bicuspid and tricuspid valves will be closure of tri and bicuspid valves due to attempted backflow of blood into the atria. Blood is actually trying to go back into atria. That should not happen. That's why these cuspid valves are closing that. So that now this will cause the forced opening of semilunar valves. This is what they are saying. As the ventricular pressure increases, as the pressure inside the ventricles increases, the semilunar valves that are guarding means protecting pulmonary artery on the right side, aorta on the left side, are forced open. They are forced to open because of the high pressure opening, allowing blood in the ventricles to flow through these vessels into the circulatory pathways. So in this way the blood is coming into this. So in this way right atrium is, right ventricle is sending blood to lungs and the left ventricle is sending blood to the entire body. So this is what happening here. The ventricles, so once this contraction is completed, now ventricles will relax. Ventricles are relaxing means volume increases, and this is called as ventricular diastole, and the ventricular pressure falls because volume is increasing, right? Pressure is decreasing. Now it is pulling the blood, now causing closure of the semilunar valves. So when the pressure is decreasing, there is a chance of backflow. So to prevent backflow, semilunar valves will be closed, but tri and bicuspid valves will be open. So closure of semilunar valves which prevent backflow of blood into the ventricles, so that blood will not come back into the ventricles. That's what they are saying. Next one, as the ventricular pressure declines, in the pressure inside the ventricles is decreasing further. Now what happens? The tricuspid and bicuspid valves are pushed open by the pressure in the atria exerted by the blood which was being emptied into them by the veins. So from the different veins, atria are collecting the blood. So as the ventricular volume is increasing, pressure decreasing. So now this is causing, and that too, since atria are getting filled up, that is also one reason. Here inside the ventricles pressure is decreasing, and inside the atria, because of the collection of the blood, pressure is increasing. So now it is causing the opening of tri and bicuspid valves, so that from the atria blood will come into ventricles. That's what they are saying. And the blood now once again moves freely into the ventricles. Freely it is coming into the ventricles, and that means again joint diastole will occur. As earlier in the joint diastole we studied the same thing, and soon SA node generates another reaction potential, new action potential. So same steps will occur once again, and the events described above are repeated in that sequence, and the process continues. The same will be repeated once again. So in this way this cardiac cycle is taking place, and attached to this cardiac cycle we need to study about some sounds like lub, dub. These also we need to study, and how much volume is pumped out. All these things are there. So many concepts are there, one after the other, one after the other. As per NCERT split up we will study, so that it will be easy for us, because all these things are happening at the same time. But if we are studying all the things at the same time, it will be difficult for us. Okay, so with this part is completed. We will meet in the next lecture. Thank you.